Meetings of the mind, where wisdom is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access meets opportunity, there's no turning back. Forward with fortitude, the future's in sight. Together we rise like stars in the night. Authenticity reigns, love leads the way. We're speaking in harmony every single day. Speak harmony, let your voice intertwine. So let's move forward, ever bold and true. With Sharon and Tamara, the vision breaks through. Speak harmony where hearts align.
Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to this episode of Speak Harmony Podcast. This episode, of course, is brought to you by our sponsors, APAP Media Group. APAP Media Group is a full-service creative video and photo production company specializing in podcasting, multi-camera recording, and live streaming. Contact them today at info@apapmedia.com. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, APAP Media Group.
And with that, we welcome you all to Speak Harmony with our beautiful co-host tonight is none other than...
Anya Jean Wilson. Yes.
Wow. And tell them a little bit, Anya Jean, about that show that you do and, you know, coming to us here as our co-host this evening. Go ahead and give the folks a little intro.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm no stranger to APAP. I'm behind the scenes, as Mr. Patrick would say. It's a delight to be here. I would say, fresh off the block from Jamaica. I'm coming from Gospel JAFM, where I worked as a radio broadcaster, but now in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm still getting my feet a little accustomed to the difference here, but I recently started my radio show on Caribbean Radio HD with Brother Gary, and I come on every Saturday at 2 to 4, and the name of my show is... Not me forgetting the name of the show, you know, but that's nerves, but that's all right. We'll work through that. But the name of the show is The Weekend Oasis, and I go by the radio name Lady Wilson. So that's a little bit about me.
And there you have it. So Lady Wilson will be here with us for the hour.
Yeah.
And Lady Wilson, we're excited about the guests that we have today. What a show we have lined up for you guys. Welcome again to Speak Harmony. This is another edition. We are excited to have you. Wow. So we've got these two, and I'm not going to say the word that I used earlier on air, but I mean, they are powerhouses. Yes, let's just put it that way. They deliver punches. These young ladies are both from the beautiful island of Jamaica. They came here where they finished their tertiary, education and moved on into law. Guys, law. And let me tell you, not law enforcement, yes, but law, okay? Legal stuff. And let me tell you, they're with the company. So they have their own little story, how they got to where they are. Because they were friends, and then life happened. And then they're back together again. Lady Georgetta Innes and Sandra Fuller. Let me tell you, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming you to APAP Media.
Yes.
Come on, let's do it. Oh my goodness. G&F, Personal Injury Law Group.
Yes. Thank you. We are excited to be here with you all today.
So I'm going to kick it off with you, Georgetta. Mm-hmm. How did you get started? How did you guys get connected? Because I know you were friends back in the day. I mean, how did you connect?
Well, it's interesting. I think we left Jamaica at the same age of 16. We are not the same age, though, right? I am her senior. But we both moved at different times to New York City and ended up here in Georgia. as fate would have it, we met each other. I think I observed her in court years ago, and I said, "Oh my God, she is so feisty, and she's a great advocate. I would love to work with her."
Really?
And then we had a practice together. We did mostly criminal defense, family law, a little bit of personal injury back in the day. We went our separate ways after quite a few years, and she went into her own practice. I joined a firm doing something else, and now we're back together again, representing
Wow.
clients who've been involved in accident cases. So we're excited about the opportunity.
Yeah.
Sandra, and what's your version? Because you know what? This is amazing. I love it. I love the
It's funny
synergy.
'cause I didn't know that, that she saw me in court. But that's the same impression I've had with her. And we have this really strong energy between us. And so I think it makes for a good practice. And so we've always gravitated to each other for the same reasons.
Of course.
Not just that we're Tarians, but
Are you
Yes, we are
kidding me?
both Arians.
so we have the same energy, the same vibe, and we always look back at each other for that and the same level of respect.
And that happens though, because when you have that synergy, you know, it happens. I mean, you do your thing,
Yeah.
and as destiny would have it, you're back together again, full force. So, what made you, Sandra, decide law is it? I mean, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Why? Why law?
I think I was 12 years old when I decided I was going to be a lawyer because I saw Felicia Huxtable. And so that was my impression of what a lawyer was at that time. But the good thing was that I came to the United States and was introduced to my high school's pre-law program. And so divinely, I believe, I sort of got led into the only area of work that I know that I was designed to do, being a lawyer.
Wow.
So that's what I've been doing.
Well, I want to hear Georgetta's version. Why law?
Well, mine's a little bit earlier. My dad had a best friend in Mandeville. I'm originally from Mandeville, cool Mandeville.
Oh Lord.
And Myrtle Johnson was one of the first female attorneys there, and she was very good friends with my dad, who is politically affiliated in Jamaica and also a business person. And at the age of 3, as far as I could remember, was the first time I met her. She would come to the house. We would go to her house and her office. And I was amazed at the level of respect that she got from everybody in the community and the kind of work she was doing. You know, it could be something as simple as a accident case, or it could be a criminal case, or, you know, somebody who stole property and she was able to resolve it. And I wanted to be that person who would be able to solve problems, right? And so that was my first time knowing that I wanted to be her, and I never veered from that course. And, you know, here I am 25 years later, still as an attorney. It's been 25 years that I've been practicing.
Wow, 25 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of
That's a whole lot of years. I mean, a whole lot of years. And you know what? Honestly, I like the fact that you kind of sort of, I mean, you're in sync. Because talking to you both, I mean, this is my first time meeting you in person, but you ladies are so intertwined. I mean, you know, which is great, because I mean, that's what you want for a business, especially a business such as yours. Yeah. You definitely don't want differences. You know, so I'm gonna dive into it a little bit and ask, I mean, personal injury though, because you've kind of circled the bandwagon. You had gone around a little bit, and you've done other specialties, areas in law. Why did you come back to personal injury?
You know, when I did some personal injury years ago, one of the things that I liked is the personal service, right? I wanted to be able to, when people needed, you know, whether there's an auto accident, slip and fall, no matter what is the cause of the injury, I wanted to be able to be a voice and an advocate for that person, and also to make them whole, right? A lot of insurance companies, if you're unrepresented, they will devalue your claim, they will deny liability, and having an attorney, I think, makes a difference in the outcome of the case, right? And so I wanted to be in a position where I created that for people who otherwise would not think that their claim could be affected or the outcome could be affected by having a lawyer. And, within our community, I would get a lot of calls. Georgetta, do you do personal injury? I have this person who's had an accident. And over the years, I would refer them to other people. But the feedback I would get from those referrals was that they can't have access to the lawyers, or it's taken some time and they were not happy with the representation. And so we decided that we wanted to brand and do the same thing that we did with our firm years ago, right? Create a boutique law firm where we have personal contact with our clients. If you call our office, you will always speak with one of the attorneys. You don't go through layers of people to get to us. And so
Wow.
we wanted to create that personalized service and also to treat every client as though they mattered. Not a case number, but
Right.
as a client. So that's what we were striving for.
Yeah, because people like to feel like their case is being heard, and they're not just like a statistic. Like, okay, we'll just take your money and promise you whatever, and you get whatever. So that's good. I like that you touched on. You said accidents and stuff. What is the gamut of personal injury? What's considered a personal injury? Is it just what happens on the job, a slip and fall? What is the full gamut of what a personal injury is considered to be?
So personal injury is any injury to person, right? So like, it's almost self-explanatory, right? But it could be a car accident. You're involved in an accident. It could be a pedestrian accident, a bike accident. It could be someone who's walking in a property, whether it's an apartment complex or the mall, and you slip and fall, right? You're in a store, for example. There is milk on the ground and you fall. So that's a personal injury. And sometimes it could be just that you were robbed on a property, right?
Wow.
So it could be of a criminal conduct as well. And so that would be personal injury. The personal injury that we don't specialize in as we sit here today, but we hope to
Yeah,
start leveraging it
into it.
eventually, would be medical malpractice, because that's a higher level, and we just want to make sure that we are if we do get those cases, that we'll be ready for that kind of growth. We're not there yet.
Operative word yet.
Not there yet. Yes, I like that because you're evolving. You just got back together. How long have you guys? I mean, back together. How long have you been back together? Would you say?
So we've been working on this for a couple of years.
Oh, nice.
I would say that over the past couple of months, we have launched this new part of our practice, and
Sweet.
we're excited. We're excited at the cases that we've gotten. We are excited that we're getting referrals from our community and from previous clients. And let me stop talking.
Look, we're talkers. We're talkers. So I like what
That constitutes as a
yeah.
lawyer.
And the beauty about us is that we play roles, different roles.
I love
and
that.
She represents.
Yes.
And I always trust that she. So I let her talk. Sometimes we're in court. And I just said,
Same thing.
yeah. we do the same
I
thing.
love it. I love
Like
it.
a big sister. Like,
It is.
talking.
I see that. I like that a lot, though.
Yeah. So yeah, we do. So
yes.
I let her go. Do you think?
So we're excited because we are already seeing that we're making a difference, right? One of the things that I would say most of our clients would say about us is that we practice with integrity, right? And being able to call us, for example, I was in the park walking yesterday and I got a phone call at 8:15 from a claims adjuster, and she said, "I was trying to leave a message. I didn't know you would answer,"
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
And I did, because we believe in being accessible.
Yes.
To our clients and also for people who are servicing our clients. So
At 8:15, she said, p.m.
yeah, it was 8:15.
8:15 p.m.
And then
That's
I
service.
promptly got home and called her and said, "Hey,
We talked about it.
If I'm doing this, you're doing it too.
right, the claims adjuster just called and anyway, yes.
It's around the clock kind of job.
But I love this because you know what? And I'm not knocking my medical folks or anybody else out there, but at 2 p.m., I kid you not, a lot of there are very few, and there's a handful. I mean, I have a chiropractor that I go to, and I think she works 24/7, 7 days a week. But those are rare cases.
Yeah.
And when people that look like us, that represent us, go all out for us, why not? We support them, and this is what it's all about. So, Miss Fuller, I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
It'll be a softball.
I mean, okay, so when someone comes to you, for example, and presents their case, how do you determine, how do they figure that out, that this is you're even saying to them, this is even worth pursuing? I mean, how do you determine that? Because I mean, what would you say to someone that walks in? I walk in, God forbid, with a case.
And this is where it's important that you're able to talk to your lawyer,
Yes.
not just a representative. This is where you actually meet with us either together or separate, and we'll assess the case, evaluate the liability, right? So not every case that walks through the door has liability. So we assess the case and we determine if there's injury, the factors of negligence, right? If there are injuries, if there's a cause, and if there's the insurance company that's going to accept liability. And so we'll make that person feel secure in knowing that we have their best interests at heart at that point. Even if there is no case, we'll be able to tell that person, we understand you did suffer something, either an emotional
course.
damage, but we'll make that person feel at ease that they were heard, but you may not necessarily have a legal claim.
Got you.
And we do that in our everyday practice.
Wow. And how do you, I can imagine a case like that, someone might not necessarily have a positive response. How do you treat with that? Especially, as you say, if they've been like emotionally scarred and, of course, worked up and be like, I'm trying to get help. Why won't you help me? How do you?
And that's kindness. I think even today we were driving in talking about a client, and without giving us too much information, just navigating the evidence that's coming in, watching the video cameras, watching the footage of the accident, and being able to discuss that with the client with sensitivity. So when you're injured, you want to make sure that you're careful with that person's emotional state, right? So we manage that. The person may have suffered economic loss as well. We have to be sensitive to that. So typically our clients walk away feeling, or potential clients walk away feeling heard.
Okay.
But not necessarily disregarded because they didn't have a legal claim. And you have to be able to say you don't have a legal claim.
Of course. Of course.
You have to
Yeah.
be able to do that.
Well, we're after this commercial break, because we're going to pause for a commercial break, and then we'll be right back. But so we can dive some more into some more stuff, because you kind of sort of opened, you're segueing to something that I wanted to find out a little bit more. So we're just going to go ahead and go to commercial break, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
I just saw her image on the camera.
And we are back. We are back. But before we jump back into the meat of the matter, I want to advise our listening and our viewing audience of a fashion affair, an event production company, of course, and they're putting on Fashion Cabaret 2025 under the theme Enchanted. That all goes down on May 31st, 2025 at 5 p.m. You can get your regular tickets at $75 and your VIP tickets at $110. You can look out. It's going to take place at the Porter Sanford Performing Arts and Community Center. That's over there in Decatur. Let me get this correct. It's 3181 Rainbow Drive in Decatur, Georgia. Of course, you don't want to miss it. For more information, you can call them at 678-379-3811. That's Fashion Cabaret 2025 under the theme Enchanted. Back to you, Lady Sharon. We're back to our guests.
Yeah. Oh, welcome back. So, Anya Jean, we were just talking with Attorney Fuller. You get someone in, they weren't necessarily, they didn't have a case. Okay? They're gone. But the point of the matter is the personal,
They feel heard.
feel heard. And the personal touch that you put, out there. This is amazing, because this is not what we see. especially in today's world, it's a cookie cutter stuff. I mean, and I'll just go back to the doctor just for a second. You go to the doctor, for example, and you see his or her name on that door, right? But when you get inside, that's not who you see. I love the fact that you don't have to advertise. I mean, your clients advertise. You get
Word of
seriously, they're
mouth.
word of mouth because a very pleased and happy client.
We'll always talk about.
Oh my goodness, they don't stop talking about it. Cause that's what I do, and I know that's what we all do,
that's
right,
what we
Anya
do.
G? That's what we do. We are happy, and we're going to talk about it because guess what? If we weren't, we'd be
We
talking
would
about
talk
it too.
But that's what
And
you want
social
from,
media.
from your professional. You want your
course.
professional to the person that you signed up to meet
Yes.
or work
Be the
with.
one that-
You
Yes.
want that person to. You want to know what that person thinks about your case. You want their professional opinion. You want to be able to hear from that person, which a lot of times you don't get that experience. It's becoming less and less, I think, that you actually get to talk to the professional that you hired. Here with
Oh,
us
yeah.
at
Yeah.
GFPNF, we do that.
So a question just jumped out at me. Say, for example, somebody has an accident on the job, but at the time the accident takes place, God forbid, they're in hospital for some months. How long after their accident can they still reach out to you guys for help? Or it
So,
doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. I
Okay.
mean, whenever the person's been released from care, we do get people who want us to visit them in the hospital.
Wow.
So long as they're the one that's looking for the help and we don't approach them because we're not allowed as attorneys to solicit
Right.
clients.
Yeah.
And so once someone on their behalf reach out, we will make, hospital visits in extenuating
that.
circumstances. I think it's good customer service and we believe in meeting people where they are. So we often do that if required, and not everyone has to come to the office.
And if I can just go a step further, not to sound morbid, but say you visit up somebody in the hospital, and before you guys get to finish or complete working on their case, say, God forbid, they pass, what happens then?
So that's a wrongful death case, right? So that is certainly very, it's hard emotionally for the family left behind. But we don't stop working because the person's passed, right? Their estate is still able to, we can work on behalf of the estate. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in, if liability is in fact established against the at-fault driver, let's say, or if it's something that happened on the job, then if liability is accepted on the other person's part, it means that this person's estate can get a wrongful death recovery, which could be quite a lot, depending on
Wow.
what the policy limit is for that insurance company.
Wow.
That's interesting. Learning a lot here. I mean, goodness gracious, because you know what? Dealing with insurance companies, people are intimidated. And that's why we have people like you. I mean, I'm just saying that we want people to represent us, to speak, who speak like us, who understand us. And they're not necessarily, we're not just, how would I put it out there? It's just another statistic, just another number, and I like what you guys do. Now, dealing with an insurance company, that it can be really tough. I mean, we know what rights do people really have when they might know something about what's going on, what is how would I say, how this case is kind of iffy, it's kind of on the fence, kind of sort of. How do you get them to that place where they feel comfortable and know that, listen, don't worry about it, you're covered? I mean, because you give them peace of mind. I mean, they walk away thinking, I'm just not another statistic, another number. What do you do that you bring them in? You make them feel so comfortable that they know, listen,
They're in good hands.
we're in good hands. We're good to go.
So I think years of experience is confidence building for clients. They know you've been doing this for a long time. You've represented clients in their particular shoe and their particular case. But most important, you have to be able to build empathy and trust with that client, right? If I feel as though I can trust you, I trust your professional opinion, you feel genuine and authentic about what I'm going through, not only, like Sandra referenced earlier, not only economic loss such as loss of income if you have to be in the hospital, loss of income when you have to go for follow-up care, right? And a lot of people don't think about that. We make sure whatever, if it's lost wages, loss of consortium, which a lot of people don't know what that means, but it means your partner is not able to have sexual relations with you, right?
Wow.
That does have some financial dollar amount.
Interesting.
Based on what we think it should be,
know
right?
Of course. Oh, wow.
And so, so it's not only your medical expenses, certainly, and we deal mostly with the personal injury side, not necessarily the property side, but we will give guidance to our client on if the car is being totaled, how to look to value the car, blue book value, or whatever it is, to make sure that the insurance company is not undervaluing their
Right,
car.
right.
And if they're not writing off the car, we then tell them we need to make sure you get some money for diminished value, right? Your car's value has been diminished because it's been in an accident.
Wow.
Education's a big part of what we do, right? Educating the client on what to expect each step of the way, making sure we're empathetic, making sure we know their names personally. I got a referral this morning, actually yesterday when I was walking, but we discussed it this morning as a team with Sandra and our paralegal, Michelle. And we talked about, our client was fairly young, has young children, the children were in the car. And one of the things we do different is we make sure once the client hires us that we have their file and their profile, but we all talk about the children's names and ages. So when they call,
wow. So
I
it's
am
personal
able to
touch.
say,
Yeah.
how is Noah and how is Noah doing, right? And that matters to me because that's
It
what I would
does.
want for myself. So that's something we pride ourselves at GNF, Personal Injury Group, that we make sure every experience is very personal.
No.
Of course, you feel right at home. You feel like this is family, and this is what everybody wants to feel heard.
Everybody.
You know what I mean? Everybody wants to feel cared for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like you said, you do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Certainly, the
And
golden
so,
rule, right?
The golden rule, absolutely.
I wanna
Yes.
jump in here and toss this one to Lady Sandra. So we know we get particularly iffy when it comes on to anything legal because we know our mindset is once it goes legal, it gets expensive and we can't afford it, and we just take whatever we get because we don't want to deal with the legal battle. We don't have the money to deal with the legal battle anyway, so we just leave it where it is. What confidence or what can you say to our viewers, our listeners? You don't necessarily have to name your exact price here, but how accessible in terms of affordability are you guys for John Public, for our community?
Yeah, the average person,
That's
yes.
such a great question.
Yes.
It's such an important question because a lot of people don't understand that personal injury claims are usually on a contingency basis. And what that means is that you don't recover, we don't get paid. So basically, we get paid on a percentage based on the recovery of the claim. So
Okay.
if ultimately we take a case and there's no recovery, we don't get paid either.
Yeah.
But you can rest assured that we're going to fight for your case so that you can get paid. That's how we're
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the client doesn't have to come up with any
Yeah.
retainer for the attorney, right? It's purely based on our contingency agreement. And so, it's not an investment, but the good part of it is, there are some cases that can get very expensive where we have to get accident reconstructionists and, other investment that we do as a firm, and we take those because we do believe in the client's case and deduct expenses, but the client doesn't have to come up with any money. So I think that should be reassuring.
Yeah.
That
I feel reassured.
we are more invested as invested as they are in the outcome of their case. Yeah.
Definitely.
I feel reassured, and I read on your site, your website, that sometimes you guys have to work with like law enforcers to get like your, what do you call it, like an accident report,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
that kind of thing. What's the gamut of that? How many other industries have you guys have to work with in any case for whatever reason?
It may be law enforcement. It may
What
be
about medical? Okay.
Definitely medical.
Of course.
Whatever evidence we need to collect for that particular case,
You do
we
that.
have to do it.
Yeah, so it may be, when you get in an accident, you're always, or you should always get what is called a accident number at the scene on the officer's business card. So always look out for that. It is a number that starts with the year, so it will say 25 followed by a bunch of numbers, right? Within 3 to 5 days, our office will be able to get a copy of that accident report. We buy it by Crash, and we get it on behalf of the client. And that's very important in terms of us knowing who the officer found to be at fault or liable for the accident. We get the at fault driver's insurance information. right? And we get diagrams and so on. So that's one of the evidentiary things that we gather early on. There may be dash cams. There may be Department of Transportation has cameras. Businesses that has cameras. Everybody has cameras these days.
True.
It has the witnesses listed as well. So we sometimes contact the witness if we need to get their perspective about what they saw if liability is been contested. So we'll get their perspective, get sworn statement or recorded statement from them that may help our client, because sometimes the other driver may say something contrary to what the police report says.
Interesting.
So there are lots of that. And then we'll have experts, right? If we go to trial, we'll have experts who come in to do accident reconstruction of how the accident happened and talk to the jury about economic damages, the doctors certainly. They're very expensive to testify, but we do use them if we need to talk about the client's injury. So it's
a lot of
fully
work.
loaded. Yeah, it's fully, you are some real work.
Yeah.
I mean, real lawyers who do real work. Because what you just said, attorney.
GPT lawyer.
Oh, no, not at all. This is real. This is real stuff.
Yeah, it's real.
Because I mean, what do you say to your client? I mean, or potential client. I mean, for people out there looking, and as you said, persons watching us right now, what would you say to them? The do's and don'ts in the case of a car wreck. I mean, an accident out there. What are some of the do's and don'ts? Because I mean, there are times when stuff happens, and you want to know what the rules are, what your rules are, what the rule is. What you should do, what you shouldn't do in a case like that.
Okay.
Before you even call the cops.
First thing is always call the police.
Right. But I'm saying they're approaching you because I mean, there's a car wreck and someone gets out of their car. They hit your car, but they're defensive.
Yes.
And I guess I should have stated that clearly. They're defensive. Do you stay in that car, call 911, or do you get out of your car, call 911 anyway? I mean, because it gets a little tricky out there, and it gets very dangerous.
Safe. I'm always going to advocate for you staying in your vehicle.
Correct.
Some people may want to activate their cameras. Everybody has a cell phone, right?
True.
But you always want to be careful. You don't want to be confrontational.
No,
at
combative,
risk.
yeah.
Sometimes you could be right and lose that. But I know that Attorney Glaves-Innes was going to add a few pointers that we believe our clients need to know on the day off.
Yeah.
Right, at that moment.
So don't move your car, right? Let the car stay in the same position. Take pictures of it while you're there, right? Because sometimes you may impede in traffic, and the officer may tell you to move it after they get there. So call the police. Certainly call 911. Say that I got into an accident where Sandra hit me, okay? So make sure you establish liability
Sandra
to
did
that
it.
911 caller, right?
Right.
The 911 caller. Advocate for their position. If you are the person who's at fault, certainly don't lie. But if you got hit, call in to say I was driving down Highway 124 and I was hit by a blue car. Wouldn't know that it's Sandra driven by, and you give a description of the car, the license plate if you can, because sometimes people do flee the scene, and you want to make sure you can get that with either camera, picture, and establish that with the 911 caller. When the officer gets there, be sure to tell the officer when it's fresh in your mind what happened. I was at the light and this person, I'm making a left, I had the right of way, the person ran into my car, right? The officers will always ask you if you need to go with an ambulance. Most people will say, no, I don't want to go. I suggest if you do not take an ambulance, you should go to the doctor, the emergency room right away. Most people feel as though I'm fine, I don't feel anything. You will in 24 to 48 hours, right? And you also want to make sure you don't have any internal injuries, right? This is not about collecting money or having a case for a lawyer. This is about your well-being. So making sure that your physical health is okay. So go to the doctor same day. If you wait the next day, it's not detrimental, but my suggestion is that you should go the same day, either by ambulance or, if someone could drive you. Do not speak to the other person's insurance. They will get the report just as your attorney would, and they will start asking questions about your pain and suffering and what your medical condition is. And they will try to tie you into that, right? For example, they call and they say, Georgetta, you were in an accident with my insured. What were your injuries? And I say, oh, well, I have a headache. That's all they hear. We send in something to say our client had a headache, lower back pain, confusion. They're like, but they didn't say that, right? So give bare minimum information, right? I was injured, I'm on my way to the hospital, or I was injured yesterday, I've hired an attorney, right? So don't give any statements because they will use it against you at some point to minimize the damage or the extent of your recovery.
I feel like I'm in an episode of Law and Order.
Law and Order.
Sure, you say, I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to my lawyer.
Attorney. Of course. And let the attorney handle that. Because I mean, we as laymen, we don't know. We have no idea. We don't know the ins and outs of this whole thing.
And there are a couple of other things. If you have to miss work, make sure that your employer know why you're missing work.
Yes.
Not that you're taking time
Goofing off, right.
Yes, goofing off.
Of course.
You're taking time off because you've been in an accident, right? So that at least you can preserve your right to ask for lost wages. And be sure to follow your doctor's recommendation. If they recommend for you to see a specialist to get an MRI, an X-ray, or any kind of diagnostics, follow through. And if you need to follow through with an orthopedist or a chiropractor or a physical therapist, follow their recommendation, right? We're lawyers, we're not doctors. We don't know what care you need, but we are confident that if the doctors say that you need that care, you should follow through. Okay.
Interesting. And you know what? We're going to ask for a question from the audience. I mean, does anyone have any questions that they want to pose to the attorneys? I mean, would you go right ahead, sister? What's your question? Because I can see your wheels turning. I know you've got a plethora of questions. You deal with this. So go ahead, shoot. Let us hear it.
Put me on the spot.
It's okay.
Oftentimes we see patients who are injured and they've gone to places where they can't get in contact with their attorneys at all. Like it's, they sign this paperwork or that paperwork. And I highly recommend that they kind of consult if they're not getting where they need to be with people who can fit their needs. And so my question is, well, she's pretty much answered it, is that they're available and ready to give advice and take cases and consult. But there's this kind of run-of-the-mill in Atlanta where it's just a lot of people who are saying, oh, well, we reduce the rate. Well, sometimes you get what you pay for, and you're not paying for the access that you're really needing to benefit. And so what advice will you give potential clients? You've spoken to your professionalism and business acumen and availability and communication. I don't recommend that any persons, whether they're in personal injury from automobile or workers' comp or the like, go at it alone, because we know that you can recoup. You can be made whole when you are better represented. And what locations are you all servicing here in Atlanta?
We can service the entire state of Georgia.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Yeah, so our office is in Atlanta.
Okay.
And, one of the things that we've done, and while we are growing, we're also managing our caseload because we want to make sure we maintain the integrity of our practice, right? We've invested a lot of years in not only going to law school and building a brand, but we want to make sure that what you just said earlier about inaccessibility to attorney doesn't become a problem, right? And while we can service the entire, I think it's 179 counties in Georgia, I do want to make sure that while we're growing, we grow as well in terms of recruiting younger associates to help to manage the caseload, because there's no point of having, like you said, run of the mill. You see attorneys billboards saying that they've reduced their rates to 25%, and they are going to get less representation, right? Because these are firms, and I'm not knocking them personally. Everybody has to do what's good for their brand. But for us, being able to manage our caseload such that we still have that personal responsibility to each of our clients is our priority, right? But we are able to service any area. We have great staff that helps us to manage the background things and manage the work, and we have great case management system that helps us to keep the deadlines and manage our practice. In fact, we have weekly what we call case status overview meetings with us and our paralegal who's in the room, Michelle.
Interesting.
And
I love
we
it.
go
Wow.
through all of the client's file and the responsibility of her calling the clients and saying, based on our last notes, you were supposed to see your orthopedist last week. How was your visit, right? That makes such a difference, and that's a part of what
Wow.
we want our brand to represent.
Yes.
And I am confident that we won't change that about our practice.
Wonderful.
That the paralegal has medical background.
Yes.
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 But you know
Paralegal
what?
behind the-
yes.
behind the,
so
camera.
I love that, Anya Jean. Go ahead. Raquel.
One other follow-up.
Yes.
Sometimes patients come in and people are just generally scared. They're scared of the process. They're scared of, what happens next. And you all have spoken to the ability to be very cognizant and reticent of the emotional states. Because sometimes, they've been in their residential community and they're fearful, or on the job injuries. They can be fearful of a lot of situations. And so can you speak to how you would advise in those personal injury settings that way? Because you've spoken to them having, when you're injured, there's a lot that happens, and people can lose their jobs.
Absolutely.
And it can be financially taxing. So there's a lot of fear that a lot of people have, and I'd like for you all to.
I think a big part of diminishing the fear is building trust and confidence with the client, right? Like I said, we touch every client every week, right? And they find that to be so helpful. And I won't take all the credit, neither me or Sandra. All the initial intake is with the attorneys, but our paralegal is the person whose responsibility, and she's very good at taking charge of following up with the clients every week, right? So we can gauge or assess where they are mentally. I remember we have a client whose employer was wanting to put her on leave for having to take time off from the accident, right? And we were able to negotiate her being able to get back to work, right? Those are the small things. So we have a case right now with minors that were involved in a very serious accident. And at least one or both of the children who were in the car were experiencing some fear of going back to school. Right?
Oh,
So
wow.
that's the case
Really?
where we encourage the parents to get them in some counseling, to be intentional about making sure their mental health is okay, and getting them in counseling, and we follow up, to see how is client X doing, and to making sure that they're okay. And there's sometimes that clients don't even have the finances. They're waiting for their car to be fixed. They don't have money. There are some financing companies that we recommend to them. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the legislatures had changed a lot of law about this because they were loan sharks at like 300%. And
Oh,
they
wow.
had some changes in the law that minimize the amount of money that these financing companies can charge in terms of interest rates to help to give the client some short-term relief if they need some financial help. So whatever resources are there, we're going to explore it and make sure it's available to our clients.
That's wonderful.
I love it. You answered my question there because I was going, oh my God, you're in an accident. You're losing time from the job. You can't go to work. You're out. You have children to take care of. You still have to eat. You still must pay your bills. You can't say to your landlord or to the bank, I can't pay the bill for another 2 or 3 months because I was involved in a car wreck or slip and fall, whatever, an accident. That was my question because, as you said, you refer them. So it's a one-stop shop. That's what it sounds like to me. And correct me if I'm wrong, because it just sounds like you cover everything. So there's no stones left unturned.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot because the client goes in there. I pray that doesn't happen, but I'm saying I would want to have your kind of representation because for me,
Yeah.
Because I've been in situations, believe it or not, or I know people who've been, and they're afraid. They need help, medical attention, but guess what they do? I can't afford to miss work. I'm due to go back on the 12th of January. It's now approaching that day, but I'm in pain. I'm not ready, but I can't afford to miss work.
Yeah.
This is
And
where
it's
you
not
are-
so
you
much
come
that
in.
it's necessarily a one-stop shop. I think because of trust that we've developed with our clients,
Yes.
our experience as lawyers, that we may make a phone call because
Right.
we have that personal relationship.
But you have resources too.
We may, Michelle may make a phone call to the HR. So those are some of the things that we can do because of the nature of how we practice.
Interesting. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break right now, but when we get back, we need to dig a little deeper, Anya Jean. Wow, this is just great. This is such a moment that we were anticipating this. So we're going to go to a commercial break and we'll be right back. Thank you. So we're back. Welcome back. Whoa, it's great in here. It's a great evening so far, Anya Jean.
It has
Wow.
been. It has been. Before we jump back into it, another one for our calendars. This one, Patrick Brown's Room 513. It features, of course, the famous Glenn Titus Campbell, Shari Ellis, Courtney Wilson, and Aquira South. And this play goes down, let me see, the 25th of May. So you have something for your Memorial Weekend. And it goes down at 4210 Shiloh Road in Snellville. That's the Shiloh High School. It's a live comedy play written and directed by Patrick Brown. I'm saying you must come laugh till you cry. So let's see how that goes. You can get your tickets pre-sold for $50 and $60 at the door. And you have the first show being 2 p.m. and your second show going down at 6 p.m. Or you can get your tickets at www.room513atlanta.com. And your host will be Wayne Hall. So there you have it. Something to do on your Memorial Weekend.
Absolutely. And there's so much to do
So much to
here in Hotland. I love it.
do.
So Anya Jean, we're back. Jeez.
I mean,
we're fully loaded. This is a
fully
fully
loaded.
loaded day and I love it.
I like it because it's clear that GNF Personal Injury Law Group, they mean business.
Yes.
They don't just want to take your money, but they're about getting you settled, getting your claims settled, and leaving you feeling like, okay, this major setback happened in my life. This major thing happened, but I can look back and say, okay, I've had some reprieve. I've had some release.
Yes.
I've had something to hold on to, and I can now say, there's a law firm, there's a law group looking out for me. And I
Yes.
can tell somebody else down the road that might have an accident, that might have something happen, that, hey, this group,
Of course.
Sandra. Just Sandra. Okay? Miss Georgetta. They're a phone call away. If you call them at 8 p.m., you might get them.
might get them.
I mean, don't make it a habit, but just
You
call
might
them
get
at 8 p.m. Okay? And they have the connections, and that's
They
what I
do.
like. And you summed it up as a one-stop shop, but because, as they say, the trust that they've built,
Yes.
not just with their clients, but with persons from other industries,
Totally.
they can see that, all right, you've been in this accident, your children have been affected. We recommend you go see a counselor. We might know a counselor that is good with kids. Hey, let's give her a call. Let's give him a call. Let's recommend you. And that interconnectedness and that, I think it's really good.
That network.
I really
You've got a
enjoy
great-
it.
yes.
It's really good.
Yes.
When persons meet in an accident, they're distraught. And if they can find solace,
Yeah.
Yes.
then you've
Yes.
done it. You've done it.
And you have. You really have. I just have another question, though. Another question here where technology is concerned, because technology is changing, guys. And so as far as the way you handle things, I mean, in court, behind the scenes, and so on and so forth, I mean, the trends have changed. I mean, what has changed as far as the approaching personal injury law? I mean, technology? I mean, how does that enhance? I mean, how does that affected your general style?
Well, over the years, I remember trying cases. I think my first personal injury trial was in Gwinnett County, maybe about 21 years ago. And it was picking a jury. And, it was just our client that testified about her injuries and her medical provider. And I actually co-tried it with a law school colleague of mine, our first personal injury trial, and it was just so simple, right? We put the client on the stand. Now when we try cases, we have a jury person come in to help us to choose who would be the best jurors, right? So a jury consultant that helps us to look what profile we're looking for based on the facts of our particular case, based on who the insurance company is on the other side, right? And even based on which jurisdiction we're in, if we're in DeKalb or Gwinnett, because juror makeup is different in the different counties.
Of course.
And they also will do a jury search to see what kind of awards are given by particular juries in what jurisdiction. And so we are educated on the jury pool we're looking at. So we use a jury consultant. We also have experts who will come in and do animations of the accident, like reconstruct the accident, and they'll have it in drawing, and then they'll have it in a format that they will play it for the jurors for us. And you will see the vehicles, you'll see the point of approach. So it's reenacting what the accident looks like. That I think is just really, it's a trend that's changed, but it's wonderful that we have those things. And with Zoom and a lot of things that had changed over the years, it was a challenge for us presented without being in a courtroom. But we're now open where we can go to court and present to the judges. And more often we have also used employers to come in to talk about not only what the employee's lost wages is, but we'll use a expert to come in to talk about future medical expenses or the life expectancy of someone that determines how much their future medical expenses are. So there are lots of different experts that we can use.
Wow.
Interesting. For someone who's listening right now, I mean, their mind is fully made up after listening to you, because if they came on, they started the podcast with doubts. Oh, attorneys again. Yeah, they're expensive. We can't afford them. They're out, they're far out there. But you know what? That person that's listening right now, they're watching and they're going, oh my God, it's not so bad after all.
Yeah.
Listen, if you don't win, they don't win.
Right.
So they want you to win. And I see that because a lot of people profess that, but it's not what it's all about, because we've heard the stories over the years. You've made us feel, and made them and everyone listening and watching feel so at ease that it's so easy to just come to you, pick up the phone and just call one of you. I mean, this is what we're talking about now. Yes, at 8:15. Don't forget 8:15. Walking in the park at 8:15. So because honestly, I believe in mentoring. Anya Jean, we talk about this, mentoring the next generation. Do you have internships? Do you offer internships? Do you accept young people just coming in career day and saying, listen, I know you're very busy, because you are, but how can we come in and just observe? How can we learn? Because we want to make sure we equip the future leaders. Yeah. What do you do?
That's funny. I was at Party Elementary, which I go every year to do their career day.
Oh, wow.
Talking to these elementary kids, and they're like so different than when we were growing up.
Wow, of course.
They're being exposed to attorneys, and judges, and having these wonderful career choices. And so it's interesting thinking back when we were younger, thinking this is a career path. So now I think over the years of being lawyers, just mentoring people individually, even when we ran our practice, we were wonderful in having young women in our firm starting out as a career. And we still have connections from then.
Right.
Young women that sort of wasn't official mentorship, but
Yes.
came under our umbrella. And even now, we have young people who come to us and say, "Hey, I want to be a part of your firm. I want to be a part of what you're doing." A lot of it is just making sure that we exemplify who we are, and
Correct.
that's embodied by being Jamaicans,
Yes.
Black, female.
Yes.
We're held accountable every single day.
Every day.
And we bring that into the community, and hopefully it'll be formalized at some point in the future. But right now, we don't have a formal process, but we get people all the time. They're curious, they want to learn, and they see us doing what we're doing, and they're so impressed sometimes that they want to be part of it, and sometimes they are.
Yeah, same. It's just sometimes it's a request to have lunch, right? I know Sandra and I have done, what's the name of that school we used to do in Gwinnett County way back when? We used to do this one, yes, school every year, right? Because it is important for representation, people to see representation of people
yes.
that looks like them. We do get a lot of lunch requests, can we come into the office? But more important, I think, like Sandra says, is people seeing you, right? We do go to different counties sometimes, and we are the only black
course.
attorneys in those counties. Is very, very normal for us. And sometimes we'll see people. I mean, I remember we were in court in Augusta years ago, and they were so impressed with seeing black lawyers. Every person was on the elevator, stopped us and wanted to talk, and we're so proud, and they were so thankful and grateful to be able to see us. And we take that with pride, but we also don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
We appreciate the opportunity that God gave us to serve in this capacity.
We've got 5 minutes to go, and I'm sorry, I'm not ready to let you go yet, because I mean, there are people out there who are itching. I mean, they're like, listen, we want to connect with you.
Yeah.
How can they reach you both? I mean, what's your information, your website,
social
your telephone
media,
number,
phone
your social,
number, your
all of
address,
that.
I'm
Just give it.
kidding.
We have it all. Our website is www.gnfpersonalinjuryfirm.com. Our phone number is 770, I gotta look at it, 727-2235. Thanks, Michelle.
Michelle to the rescue.
So you can reach us at that number, log on to our website, reach out to us. There's a contact page where you can get our information there.
And it's right there on the screen.
And it's
for you.
right there on our screen. And so you can always, we're accessible, you can always reach us and connect with us.
I love this.
If we left here with nothing else today, we know they're accessible.
They're accessible. Of course.
And they're people persons.
You're real
Actual
people.
We're real people.
You're not just
not
people.
getting a
You're not people on the,
machine.
you're not just people on
We're
a
real hardworking people.
hardworking people like that who care about
Care about our
people.
community.
That's it. I mean, seriously, they're not only, you look at the brochure and you're thinking, oh my God, it's so fancy. I don't even want to put it just anywhere.
Yeah.
Put it on the shelf. But let me tell you, ladies, I thank you. We thank you
Yeah.
for taking time out of your schedule to be here.
You know,
That's
they probably
key,
just missed
because
2
it-
clients a while ago.
Why here?
You're gonna make up back for that 8 o'clock. A call is coming in at 8:15.
Yes.
You better
So,
look out for it.
My
Call
goodness.
them right back.
We love it. We love it. Did you, any final words that you want to leave with us before we close out?
We
It's
you
been
know,
real.
I mentioned our community. It's obvious.
Yes.
But what we inspire, or what we try to do is bring our community to a place where we can get educated.
Yes.
Ask questions. They can ask us questions. Imagine going to your doctor and you can't talk to your doctor and say, but I'm feeling this way, or I don't understand this. We've come to a time when we can't do that.
Yes.
So people turn to Google, and Google is our answer for everything, a chat GPT. And guess what? We are lawyers that you can talk to, ask questions, relieve your fears. And sometimes that's priceless for people because they don't know.
Of course.
And
of
some
course.
people don't always, or they're not willing sometimes to say they don't know. And just being able to have that conversation
Of course.
can clarify or educate our clients. And that's what we want for our community.
Love that.
And we want to continue with the service we provide. You know, like I said earlier, we are a boutique practice.
I like that. A
And
boutique
we
practice.
really do believe, you know, in individualized service for our
Yes.
clients. We don't believe in thinking about volume, right? We think more about as being impactful, right? We don't focus on quantity, we focus on quality representation.
Absolutely.
So those are the things that we would like to leave with our listeners, and to let them know that if you have been involved in an accident, call GNF Personal Injury. Our information is on the screen. You could reach us at www.gnfpersonalinjury.com. Again, our phone number is 770-727-2235.
And there you have it, folks. Call them. GNF, the law group, real women that do real work
Yeah.
for us, for our community.
I like that.
We thank you, ladies. We bless you. And we're going to have you back in here because there are people who are seeing this for the first time and they have questions. And I know we're going to be flooded. Look, questions are coming tomorrow. Matter of fact, they're going to start tonight. So we're going to be coming to you because I love what you guys are doing. And this is what we have to do. Each one teach one. And I could think off the top of my head, a few young ladies and young men who would just want to, they don't know what they want to do when they get finished school. That's the truth. And that's the case for most of them. But guess what? The fact that you guys exist,
There's hope.
there's hope. There's hope. and
We're
we
always
thank you.
open to a round table. If we do get an
Absolutely.
invitation to do a round table with
APAC
aspiring
Media
people.
will do
Yes.
just that. Right, Mr. Pete? So we're open to anything. We fit anything and everything in this space.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're here for. We're a community one-stop shop. APAC Media, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So we want to collaborate and coordinate with folks as yourself to make this happen in our community.
Yeah.
And we're declaring that today. Mr. P endorsed that. I know he did. You heard me, right, Mr. P?
We
Yeah,
appreciate
get it, put
y'all
it into
having
work.
us. We enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you,
Speak
ladies.
Harmony. Thank you. Goodness.
Meetings of the mind where wisdom is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access meets opportunity, there's no turning back. Forward with fortitude, the future's in sight. Together we rise like stars in the night. Authenticity reigns, love leads the way. We're speaking in harmony every single day. Speak harmony, let your voice intertwine. So let's move forward, ever bold and true. With Sharon and Tamara, the vision breaks through. Speak harmony where hearts align.